Mirasee.
Children's brains are different. Their frontal lobes are not fully developed, nor do they have the life experience that our adult clients have as well. So we need to add a teaching component that supports children in understanding what these mindset skills are, how to navigate different situations that they might actually face. And that's one of the reasons why we use coaching stories as a basis of our work when we're coaching children.
Hi, I'm Dr. Irena O'Brien, and you're listening to Neuroscience of Coaching. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist with almost 30 years of study and practice in psychology and neuroscience. And as the founder of the Neuroscience School, I teach coaches and other wellness professionals real-world, evidence-based strategies to use in their own practices. In each episode, I invite a seasoned coach to discuss a topic that affects our field, and together, we provide you with science-based tools to help your clients reach their goals by working with their brains to create results that last. For this episode, we're going to explore the fascinating concept of stories and how the human brain responds to them. We've all had the experience of a story tugging at our heartstrings, keeping us in suspense, or terrifying us. Or perhaps we've binge-watched an entire season of a TV show on Netflix, even when we didn't plan to. This is because storytelling has an irresistible capacity to engage the mind like no other form of communication. When you look back at human evolution, the reason starts to become clear. For most of our history, we had little or no way to transfer information except through direct verbal communication. So storytelling developed as a key way to convey this information among our ancient ancestors. What's difficult to determine is whether our brains adapted to value storytelling due to its importance, or storytelling succeeded because it tapped into our brain's natural physiology. But whatever the answer to that chicken and egg question, we do know that storytelling very clearly engages multiple neural networks. Through real-time brain imaging technology like MRIs, researchers can clearly see how storytelling affects us. They can even narrow down how and why stories work and in what ways they are more or less effective. When storytelling is at its best, it's referred to as narrative transportation, because it takes our minds into the story with deep emotional engagement. We are feeling what the characters feel, and we become invested in the outcome. As a result, a powerful story can motivate us to donate our money to a cause or bring millions of people together to achieve a goal. The primary neuroscience behind this involves what's called the mentalizing network. This network comprises the temporoparietal junction and the medial prefrontal cortex, areas of the brain that work together to predict the emotions, beliefs, and motivations of other people, both consciously and subconsciously. And part of this network is referred to as the narrative hub, which brain imaging shows to be activated by storytelling. In addition, the default mode network, which you hear me mention often, overlaps with the mentalizing network and comes into play as activity in the storyteller's brain and listener's brain literally becomes synchronized during a story. The more the synchronization, the more the listener's engagement. Ultimately, apart from simply conveying information, storytelling is an important part of human emotional processing and social connection. And this is why children are so drawn to stories. Their young and rapidly developing minds are working hard to make sense of their emotions and how to socially interact with other kids and adults. So listening to stories, much like play acting, is a highly effective cognitive playground. And of course, as adults, we continue this development and practice through TV, movies, novels, our own personal storytelling, and more. So let's dive into this amazing topic today with my guest, an expert in storytelling, Renaye Thornborrow. Renaye Thornborrow is on a worldwide mission to bring life coaching to kids. As such, she's the founder of Adventures in Wisdom, a company that trains and certifies coaches to help children develop mindset skills for greater confidence, resilience, self-esteem, and more. Since its start in 2013, the company has certified hundreds of coaches in more than 30 countries. As I mentioned in my opening, stories are a critical part of personal development in children, So a key part of Renaye's philosophy and her company's coaching program is the power of storytelling. She knows firsthand how stories can change minds, change lives, and change our world. Thank you so much, Renaye, for being on my show today.
Thanks for having me, Irena. Thrilled to be here.
So your coaching specialization is so interesting. So how did you arrive at the idea to bring life coaching to kids?
The seed was planted many years ago when I graduated from college and I discovered the world of personal development. And I remember thinking to myself, why didn't I learn this when I was a kid? It made no sense to me that the personal development world and then later the life coaching world focuses on grown-ups when those core thoughts and beliefs that shape who we are and what we think is possible for our lives are formed when we're really young. I knew that when I had kids one day that I would want them to learn this powerful way of thinking. And over the years, I became an expert in personal development work. And I had a very successful corporate career, happy, fulfilling relationships and marriage. And when I did have children, that was 22 years ago, I've got twins, I couldn't find anything out there to help me teach them how to develop their mindset, how to use the power of their thoughts and the power of their mind to create confidence, to be resilient, to learn how to set and achieve their goals. And when I started working with them on my own, they were probably about 4 or 5 years old. Sometimes it seemed a little lectury or boring, and I didn't want my kids rolling their eyes every time I opened my mouth. So I started writing stories. And that really was when the magic happened, because they not only loved the stories, they were learning the concepts. And from there, my vision just grew. I knew that I wanted to help other children as well. And I just felt this pull to do this. And so I retired from my corporate job. I was fortunate enough to be able to take a year off and write my coaching curriculum that uses stories and activities and discovery questions to really support children in developing mindset skills. So then back in, I think it was 2011, I actually launched Adventures in Wisdom. And what happened was, originally it was a home study program for parents to use with their own children, but I had life coaches and counselors and educators and social workers and people who are already working with children wanting to use my work with the children in their businesses. And I thought, well, that's a great idea, because I knew they could reach children I would never be able to reach. So 2013 created the certification program and now have coaches all over the world who are using our story-based coaching curriculum and step-by-step story coaching process to help children learn about the power of their mind. And it's just been absolutely an amazing journey.
So you figured that out on your own, that stories was the way to interest children.
It was by accident in a way, but then I discovered kind of the brain science behind it. I'm what I call a recovering engineer. That was my degree. And when I first started out years ago, and I like to understand why things work. And so I wanted to understand, why do personal development skills work? Why do stories work? And so I was doing my own research as well to learn about the brain science behind personal development so I could teach children about the power of the mind, what neural pathways were and how it helped them in identifying their habits and creating new experiences and why they feel nervous when they're doing something new, how the reticular activating system supports them in discovering what they need to set and achieve their goals and accomplish what they want to in their lives, how their conscious mind and subconscious mind works, how belief systems work. All of these things that we've just talked about for decades and decades in the personal development world, we now have a lot of the brain science behind why this works in the areas of the brain that is impacting. And of course, you're the expert of that, so I'm learning things from you already.
Yeah, I hear you, Renaye. I hear from many of my students that they say, why don't we teach these things at school? Because the information that they're learning, right, how their brain works, is so important and it's so empowering. And even children can understand.
We have case study after case study after case study showing exactly that. And it really is so powerful in supporting children and learning how to navigate life. If you think about it, when faced with challenges and disappointments, most children don't have the skills to handle them. And as a result, they get down on themselves. That crushes their self-esteem. They give up on themselves. That really crushes their confidence. And this doesn't have to happen. It's a game changer for our children when they learn how to use the power of their thoughts and the power of their mind to identify and shift limiting beliefs that hold them back in life, and how to proactively create supporting beliefs that can help them achieve what they want to achieve, to feel confident, to navigate the challenges of life, and just be who they were meant to be in the world. It's so powerful.
So as you listen to what I said in the opening about human evolution and how the brain processes stories, so what came to mind for you?
Well, it's interesting because when you look at coaching in general, coaching kids is different from coaching adults. And I think that's something that's really important for anyone who's listening here who've been trained in a certification program that coaches adults, especially one that is ICF based, to really understand. The reason for that is brain development. So with adults, the frontal lobes of our brain where critical reasoning occurs are fully developed. So they have, critical reasoning. They can make distinctions. It's one of the reasons why questions is the most powerful tool that we have to evoke discovery and new decisions when we're working with adult clients. children's brains are different. Their frontal lobes are not fully developed, nor do they have the life experience that our adult clients have as well. So we need to add a teaching component that supports children in understanding what these mindset skills are, how to navigate different situations that they might actually face. And that's one of the reasons why we use coaching stories as a basis of our work when we're coaching children. It helps lay that foundation of knowledge so that children through the stories can see situations that they might face, whether it's at school or with their family or friends or extracurricular activities. And then we can, through the coach's support in providing an emotionally safe space, and then using our deep listening skills and questioning skills, we can use child-friendly discussion questions to support the child in thinking through the story, applying that story to their own lives, learning about these mindset skills and how they can use them in these different situations so that it really supports them in building their confidence and understanding how their mind works so that they can navigate these changes. So that's one of the things that really comes to mind is the fact that children's brains are so different from adults, and we need to use a different approach when we're coaching children.
Storytelling is important for adults too. So when adults read novels, one thing is good for brain plasticity, right? Because you're using your imagination, and so you're creating different pathways when you read novels. But also you're able to try on different personas.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure children do that, would also try on different personas when they're listening to the stories.
It's interesting because it's actually part of what we teach them in mindset skills. So, for example, one of the most powerful coaching skills that we use with our clients and something that we love to teach children about is all about reframing their thinking. And we have a story that helps children understand about the power of their thoughts and how one thought pattern can have them feel one way, another thought pattern can have them feel another way. And it's called Power Goggles. And in the story, we're teaching children about how when you wear your power goggles, you can experience something from a more empowered point of view versus your grungy goggles, then you're going to experience it in a different way. So let me share an example so you understand what I mean by this. An example that most kids are going to face in their lifetime is getting a bad grade or even failing a test. So what happens is a child fails a test, then the thought pattern that develops is I'm a failure. And that's wearing their grungy goggles. And it's not a thought pattern that supports them. When a child learns how to put on their power goggles, then they learn how to think about this. What's a different way they can think about it, this that supports them? Well, I failed a test. Well, must not have learned the right information. I better study harder next time. Maybe I can ask the teacher for extra credit. This supports the child in being more empowered in this event that just happened. So instead of feeling like a failure and labeling themselves as a failure, they can be in action. And then we have a coaching question that's whenever we're talking to a child, maybe they're struggling with how they're dealing with something. Say, what would this look like if you're wearing your power goggles? So it takes them back to the story and relating to that story. All of our stories are written in a fable format. So they're designed to teach a certain mindset skill. We teach over 27 mindset skills to children to help them learn how to proactively build their confidence and their self-esteem, to learn how to navigate life's challenges, whether it's managing changes, moving through their fear, dealing with a disappointment or a failure, learning how to develop self-leadership skills so they can learn to be self-responsible, choose integrity, treat others with respect and treat themselves with respect, self-respect, learning how to manage peer pressure, set and achieve their goals. I mean, the whole gamut of things that really support children at a young age in developing these mindset skills so they can use them throughout high school, college, into their adult years as well.
Yeah, it seems to me that it would require parent cooperation and, in fact, self-aware parents, or all parents of the kids that your coaches coach. Are they all self-aware, or do you have to teach parents too?
So the parents who hire our coaches tend to be parents who are already involved in personal development themselves. They understand some of this way of thinking. They're already doing their own levels of personal development work. They understand this and want this for their own child. And so our coaches will engage the parents throughout the coaching process. Now, the coaches do work one-on-one with children, usually in privacy, unless there's some other agreement there. And the reason for that is because kids really will change how they respond to questions of the parents in the room. And it just enables children to really go deeper if the parent's not there. But then we have what's something called a Wisdom for Home take-home sheet for each one of the sessions that helps the parent continue the conversation at home. And then our coaches will also check in with the parents throughout the coaching process as well to see how things are going. Some of our coaches will have coaching sessions with the parents as well. Now, that's when we're talking about one-on-one coaching and parents hiring coaches for one-on-one coaching. Our coaches will also do small group coaching as well as workshops. And so for there, you're not going to get quite as much intimacy and understanding of what a child might be going through, except a small group coaching would, but not necessarily in workshops. Workshops is more communicating of information and building awareness about these types of skills. But yeah, the most parents who will hire a coach for their kids are engaged parents who want the very best for their children.
It would seem to me that this would be important stuff to teach in school. So has there been any receptivity to having this taught in schools?
We have a lot of coaches come into our community who have an education background. Some are bringing it into their own school. Some are creating after-school programs. Others are looking to leave the classroom and they want to support children. They still want to work with children and support them beyond the classroom. And, having their own business, whether it's part-time or full-time, enables them to do that. And you're right. But, getting any type of program into a school is a whole nother animal. So we haven't tried to go that route. But for educators who wanted to bring us in, absolutely, they have been able to do that. And because we use stories to help teach these skills, it's something, even if an educator is spending 15 minutes sharing a story and having a little conversation and planting those seeds to be able to then reference that story and ask questions and do activities. Like we have activities for all of our different skill books. A lot of them are art projects, and it really supports children in experiencing the skills in a deeper level, kind of a multi-sensory experience when they're learning these skills. So for example, the power goggles I was sharing with you, we have a great art project where kids get to build their own power goggles, and it gives them also a good memory marker to have in their room so that every time they see their power goggles sitting on their desk or wherever in their room, it reminds them that this is a mindset skill that they have available to them.
Yeah, I'm just enthralled. Enthralled with what you do.
It's such a great way to help kids learn how to navigate life. Most kids don't like to talk about being nervous or being afraid, but they love to talk about grungies and they love to talk about dragons. These are a couple of terms from our curriculum that we use throughout all of our skill books that help children give a child-friendly way to talk about what they're feeling and what they're thinking so that they can start these, it helps the coaches start the important conversations. And the children relate to the characters in the different stories. And it helps open the door to explore these conversations at a deeper level and help children apply these to their own lives. Another example, the story that we use to teach children about how to have an I can do it mindset is called Canville and Cantville, A Tale of Two Towns. And let's say that a coach is working with a child, they're getting down on themselves, thinking they can't do something. Well, the coaching question they can ask is, what would this look like if you were living in Canville? So that's going to take them immediately back to the story, remembering what they learned about the story and the different mindset skills they can use to help them have an I can do it mindset when they're experiencing a certain situation. Stories are so powerful, and it's a great way to help children learn how to navigate life.
Yeah, I love that, the Canville and the Cantville, because it takes them out of their own negative thoughts and takes them somewhere else, even though they're still in the default mode network, which is where change happens because it's self-reflection. But they're self-reflecting in a different way.
Exactly. And a lot of times, sometimes it's guided, because remember, children don't have the critical reasoning skills that adults have. So sometimes they need that extra support to help them in dealing with this. So for example, one of our coaches was working with a young girl. They live in Australia, and she found a huntsman spider in her toilet. Those things are huge and just scared her half to death at home. And ever since that incident, I think she was about 9, if I remember correctly, for almost 3 years, that child would not go to the bathroom in her own home without a parent standing outside of the door. Had to check the toilet first. And so our coach was working with her on overcoming this anxiety about going to the restroom at home. And so what they did was they did some of the stories about managing fear. They also learned about how she had an ingrained neural pathway about what it meant to go to the bathroom in her own home. And so they worked on developing some new beliefs on what she could experience in her own home. So for example, she'd been going to the restroom for almost 3 years in her own home without having a spider there. And so what they did to support the child in really being more empowered is the child came up with a routine that would help her feel more comfortable going to the bathroom in her own home. So for example, she would use her foot to lift up the toilet, look in, flush the toilet, lay down a layer of tissue so there was nothing to come up, and then she would go to the restroom. It only took 2 coaching sessions for her to start going to the restroom by herself. But it's such a powerful story, but just think about the impact that would have on a family, because you've raised children. So imagine that your child would not go to the restroom in your home without you being outside of the door. It's amazing. That's just one little example of how we've been able to support, one of our coaches been able to support a child in one issue.
I can see that you're really excited about this and about, yeah.
That's what just gets me up in the morning. We have just the stories that our coaches tell of how they've been transforming the lives of children and families, whether it's anxiety about going to school, setting a goal and making the all-star team. We had another girl, she loved dance and she was in dance competitions, but she was terrified to do her solo. And she went on stage and ran off stage crying, and she just really wanted to compete, but her fear was just keeping her from being able to do this. And so again, we're working on the mindset skills, teaching the child about how her mind works, her belief systems, putting together some affirmations, as well as learning some calming techniques, touching your heart and deeply breathing and visualizing your ability to have fun on stage. And within just a couple of coaching sessions, she not only went on stage and performed her solo, she won her age group and won the whole competition. Absolutely amazing.
Wow. So from what you say too, that the results happen more quickly than with adults, it seems.
Well, if you think about it, adults have much stronger ingrained thought patterns, right?
And limiting beliefs. They have more limiting beliefs than children have.
More limiting beliefs. But you know what? A lot of their limiting beliefs are also formed in childhood. It's one of the main reasons why life coaches for adults want to work with kids. They see this happen over and over and over again with their adult clients, and they want to reach children when they're young to support them in understanding the power of their mind, understanding how to identify and shift those limiting beliefs and proactively create supporting beliefs. And one of the most powerful tools that we have that we use with children is teaching them about their self-talk, because our self-talk shapes how we experience ourselves, our confidence, our self-esteem, what we believe is possible for ourselves as well. And the more we use positive self-talk, the more it's going to build those neural pathways in our mind to feel really good about ourselves. And it's such an important story that we actually give this one away for free on our website for people who want to experience what life coaching for kids with stories is all about. And, I encourage people to go get that and check it out, because it's such a wonderful way to see how this works with children.
Can you imagine the kind of adults that will create? Like, do you have any stories of children who have reached young adulthood, for example, because you've only been doing it since 2013?
That's the amazing thing about doing this for such a long time. So one of our coaches, when her children were in their late teens, so she started with them when they were probably 10, 11, something like that. They didn't know that kids didn't understand the power of their mind. They didn't know that children didn't know how to choose positive self-talk. For them, this became the normal way of thinking. And they didn't realize that people felt like they had no choice but to live in fear or to see the negative of life all the time.
Many adults think that way too, still that way.
Absolutely.
Right? And many adults believe their self-talk.
Absolutely.
Most adults believe their self-talk.
Yeah. And what's so powerful for that is for people to learn how to identify that negative self-talk. When you're in negative self-talk, that a lot of times is fear, it's anxiety. We're not necessarily recognizing our thoughts, but what we do recognize is our feelings. So what we teach children is look for the grungy feelings, like when they're feeling off. Because when they feel those grungy feelings, examine their thoughts, and that's going to help them identify when they can shift their thoughts. And of course, younger children will probably need support of their coach or their parent to be able to do this, but it's so powerful for kids to learn this.
Yeah, I hear you, because with my kids, just because of what I do for work, and I'm open with my own struggles. So, they know all about my anxiety and my struggle with that. And they have become self-aware adults.
Yeah. I think it's so important for us as grown-ups to be vulnerable with our children and not act like everything's always perfect, to let them know when we're struggling with something or what's going on and what we're doing to try to deal with it. So I've had some really rough times in my business over the years. And, I didn't hide that. I talked with them about it, what I was doing about it, how it was impacting me. I think it's important for kids to see that you can have challenges, but you can overcome them and you can navigate them without it totally destroying your self-esteem and your confidence as well. So we get to be the models for our kids.
Yeah, exactly. I have a story about my daughter she was 12, I guess. And, I would get angry. You know how it is, right? Moms just get angry. Oh, no,
I never got angry at my kid.
Yeah. And so I would get angry at her for something. And she'd stop me and she'd say, "Mom, what's up? I know it's not me." And she was right, because it did stop me in my tracks.
But it also showed that you helped create an emotionally safe space enough for her to be able to say that to you. And she was aware enough to know that something was off and to be able to say, "Hey, what's going on?" Yeah, that's very unusual for a child to ask a question like that.
I know it is, especially that young at 12 years old. Yeah, I was proud of her for asking that question. For coaches who work with adults, what's an example of how they can use storytelling in their practice?
Well, It's interesting because when I wrote this curriculum, I wrote it for children who are in elementary, middle school, about the ages of 6 through 12, 13, 14. I really wanted to reach kids at a young age. And what has surprised me so much over the years is how many of our coaches use our work with their teenage clients and even their adult clients. And it's all about the power of storytelling. Now, of course, they'll adapt the discussion questions because the ones that are part of the curriculum are really more focused to someone who's in like elementary or middle school. But they'll adapt it to whatever's going on in that person's life. And they may not do art projects, unless an adult really likes to do an art project, because the art projects really help solidify what it is that they're learning. So it's very powerful. But it's the brain science behind it, right? If when we hear stories, it's not only that intellectual region, it's the sensory region as we imagine experiencing what they're experiencing. The emotional region as we imagine feeling what they're feeling. So it's more brain cells are firing there, and it's going to create stronger memories around both the story and the lessons from the story, and that connection and self-reflection, especially with the guidance of a coach and applying that to their own lives. Sharing a story like this can help them find the answer inside even faster at times, because it enables them to see the situation over here, right? The situation the characters are facing, and then it opens the door to them applying it to their own lives. And it can help build that awareness even faster than if they were just in a question exploring dialogue with a coach.
Yeah, I just had a thought as you were saying that. With the story, even though it's dealing with their own personal emotions, it's less threatening because now it's outside of them. And even though they're still in the default mode network and they're still processing emotionally, but it is much less threatening.
Yes. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. It's a non-threatening way to help children learn how to navigate life. So let's say you have a child who is not being very respectful, and we have a skill book on dealing with respect, teaching the skill about being respectful. And, if you try to have a conversation about a child about respect, they're going to shut down, right? Because it's about them, they're feeling judged, etc. But if you share the story and they're seeing the situation of the story. So one of the things that we teach in the story is that every time we're with someone, we leave a mark, either a gold heart or a grungy mark based on how we treat them. And so a good coaching question is, what type of mark did you make today? Or how many gold hearts did you give away today? So it really helps for children learn about respect from the situation in the story itself, and then how they apply it. And we had another example. We've got this case study on our website, a little girl named Julie. She was about 9 years old, really struggling with respect. The coach was working with her on this. And one of her assignments between coaching sessions was to practice giving away gold hearts and actually document how many she gave away. Well, she brought this activity to her whole family. So the whole family started practicing giving gold hearts, and it transformed the culture within the whole family. So it's so powerful how children can bring these mindset skills in this way of thinking into their whole family and really make a big difference.
Didn't Maya Angelou say that people don't remember what you said, they remember how you make them feel?
Yeah. Gold hearts. Yep.
Gold hearts. So finally, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
I've been doing this for over a decade now, and I still have people all the time saying, I didn't know that was a thing. So if you know a parent who maybe their child is struggling a little bit or the child has a big goal, share with them about life coaching for kids, because a lot of times for parents, if they see their child struggling, they might think they need a counselor. But if you look at mental health on a continuum where we have mental wellness on one end and mental illness on the other end, counselors and therapists really tend to focus on that mental illness side, supporting children getting back to a state of mental well-being so they can really function in life. Life coaching focuses on children who are they're mentally well, they're not really struggling. They might have some issues that they're struggling a little bit with, but they're not in crisis. But it's supporting children in enhancing their mental fitness so that they can navigate those challenges of life, so they can be proactive in building their confidence and self-esteem, so they can learn how to set and achieve their goals, so they can learn how to make good decisions and be a self-leader. It is so powerful. And like you said, I wish it was part of our curriculum in schools, because every children get to learn about the power of their mind. And it's our goal to get out there and help parents learn about this and to help children learn these skills so that they can be who they were meant to be in the world.
So that's a perfect way to close out the show today. And what's the best way for listeners to learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah. Visit our website, adventuresinwisdom.com. Check out a free coaching story. Whether you're a parent and you're interested in using this with your own child or hiring a coach, we have a tab there that says for parents. You can learn more there. If you're interested in possibly being a coach, we have a tab that says for coach. You can learn all about our program and how it works, just in the comfort of your own home, see if it's right for you. But get that free coaching story. That's the best way to start. Start building those skills of positive self-talk.
So Renaye, thank you so much for such a fun conversation today. and sharing your time with me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. While we certainly think about the stories we enjoy in terms of TV, movies, and novels, we tend to overlook the reality that stories are all around us all the time. News, social media, stand-up comedy, advertisements, nonprofit efforts, memes, and of course, casual conversation among friends all involve storytelling. Neuroscience and brain imaging has revealed what hundreds of thousands of years of human history have shown us. Stories are the most effective way to convey information, create social bonding, and process emotions. It's also shown that people retain information better when it's effectively wrapped in a story instead of simply presented as facts. And of course, as a foundation of psychology, we know that the stories we tell ourselves in our minds have a profound effect on our well-being and our lives. So whatever coaching you do, whether it's with children or adults, I hope this episode has inspired you to consider incorporating more storytelling. As Renaye has shown us, stories can be an amazing tool for facilitating and fostering faster and deeper personal transformation. I'm Dr. Irena O'Brien, and you've been listening to Neuroscience of Coaching. You can find out more about me at neuroscienceschool.com. Neuroscience of Coaching is a part of the Mirasee FM podcast network, which also includes such shows as Just Between Coaches and To Lead as Human. This episode was produced by Andrew Chapman. Danny Inney is our executive producer, and Marvin Del Rosario is our audio editor. To make sure you don't miss great episodes coming up on Neuroscience of Coaching, please follow us on YouTube or your favorite podcast player. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a comment or a starred review. It is the best way to help us get these ideas out there to more people. Thanks, and we hope you'll join us next time.